Hello again everyone. Today I'll be doing a tutorial video on how to properly configure and set up groups in Group Manager. First, as always, you're going to want to go to the provided links below and download the following if you haven't done so already. NotePad++, I'll provide that description or the link to the download below. Also, you're going to go ahead and download Essentials, as it's always good to have. And if you don't know how to properly configure that, I will provide the link to the video as an annotation right here now, so that you can go ahead and watch how to do that. The next is the main part, Group Manager. I'll provide that download as well. Also, you're going to want this. It's a reference to every command and permission for Essentials, which will be good for Group Manager, considering the only plugins that we've done in our server maintenance so far is Essentials, World Edit, and World Guard, as we can see in our plugins folder. However, I have removed World Edit and World Guard because I have not been doing tutorials on those. Alright, so now that we have downloaded all of our plugins, we're going to want to open up our plugins folder. And as you can see, my folder has already developed. However, for the sake of the video, I'll go ahead and delete this folder, and it will provide a new folder when we start up the server. My assumption is that by the time that you do this, you have already configured Essentials and done everything that you want to in that configuration. Otherwise, you may experience some issues while using Group Manager. So as stated before, we're going to go ahead and start up our server to let it develop some of those folders that we need. And now to confirm that our plugins are in their folder, do PL, and as you can see, we have Group Manager and all of our Essentials. So now we're going to go into our plugins folder, go into Group Manager, World, and Group. For this tutorial, the main one that we'll be focusing on is the default group, because this is where you really need to add all the permission nodes that you want. So what you can do is you can copy the default group here. Go ahead and copy it. Go all the way back and hit Control V or paste, whatever you prefer. You're going to want to change this to make sure it's the default true, and to make sure that this is set to false, because you can't have two default groups. Under inheritance, we're just going to put one line that says default. That way, we have any permissions that are default that need to be added. So now we'll inherit the default group. The next thing that we need to do is to go up here to our moderator or builder group, builder, and change this inheritance to our user group, or whatever name that you chose to put down here. And we're going to change this name to user, because that's the name of the group I want the defaults to be. Under prefix, you can choose however you want to set this up. I always like to give it a nice user look. And the brackets are there so that they have a decent looking type of prefix. Go ahead and remove that negative permission because it won't be essential because they don't have the permission anyways. Next, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to a specific permission node, probably under the owner. Copy this and paste it and remove that. So now we're ready to start adding our permission nodes, which we can find here, all depending on what permissions you want them to have. Most of them begin with Essentials, and then you put a dot, and then you put the name of the node. However, not all of them are that easy, such as kits. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and look up spawn. What is the permission node for spawn? The default node is spawn. If you're a moderator, something you might want to add to, or if you want your moderator group to have, is spawn.others. I'm not going to go through every node. You know what your players should have, and you can control that. So now what we're going to do is, because of the essentialness of making sure that the rows are perfectly configured, I just copy and paste and then remove that line, because otherwise you're stuck doing something like this, and that's just difficult. And you can't do something like this, because that's just off and it's not going to add the permission. So essentials dot, and then the next node that you want to do. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and pull in all of my permission nodes that I have for my user group because I know what they're supposed to have. So as you can see, what I've done is I've added each permission node to the Essentials plugin that we need. I've added AFK, back on death, balance, bal.others, bal.top. So this allows you to look at them, but that doesn't allow you to take. Otherwise, that would be eco.give or eco.take. Balance top, bal top, build, clear inventory, color. I allow them to have color in some instances, but I don't necessarily allow them to use color in the chat, because otherwise that would be chat.color. The deleting of a home ender chest, that's really up to you if you want them to be able to do /EC and access their ender chest. I like it. I don't see the harm in it. Unless you're using factions, and there can be some issues there. The help command is always nice because it tells them what commands they can use. Home, keep exp, that's in some instances if you need it. Kit.tools, I allow them to get that. Although I'm going to go ahead and remove these because I don't see any purposes to why they'll need that. Essentials.list, I'm going to go ahead and remove that because they don't need to be doing the list command. Mail send, money, message pay. Permissions.build, ping, plugins. This isn't a real plugin, I don't think. It's bukkit.command.plugins. Recipe rules, if you want them to be able to read the rules. Set home, sign.create. That means the only sign they can create is the disposal sign. They can use the disposal sign, they can use the heal sign, they can use the warp, the buy, the disposal, the heal, the repair, the sell, the time, the warp. And they can use spawn, TPA, TP accept, TPA here, and warp list. So those are the permission nodes I suggest. Really, that's about it for the user group. The next one I'm really going to do is, because that's just a personal preference, and which is the owner, because I always like to set that up. So really, you don't need to add any permission nodes to this, because hopefully if you're the owner, you're going to be opt. And this is pretty much every permission node in Essentials. And I don't really see why you need it. The only time that I've seen where you might need a command is for, I think, essentials.reload, because you can't reload the plugin unless you have that permission node. Maybe, and essentials.spawn operators are null too. Alright. I'm really just adding a prefix to that one. Admins, in my opinion, I always opt them. Otherwise, you're going to have a really hard time figuring that one out. Because, I mean, there's just so many permission nodes. Now, moderators, that's kind of easier because you really don't give them that many permissions. World Edit, World Guard, a few other plugins as you need to. Builder, I don't even pretend that one exists. I create my own builder ranks. I call them designer, I think, and they only have game mode, World Edit, and World Guard. That's all I give them. In the /I command, because sometimes they need blocks that you can't get from creative mode. So I think we're pretty much done with this. The main one is the user group that you want to create. You can name it whatever you want. You can keep the default group if you want. Again, that's all up to you. So now that we're done with this, I'm going to X out of it. I'm going to reload my server. Now that that's done, I'm going to check out our server. Which one? There we go. All right. So, some things to check are our admin group. Or our owner group, yeah. And our admin group, because we changed the prefix. So as you can see, that's what we set it to. Actually, yeah, it'll be denote. Lower rank. So it's exactly as we set it. You can customize the look of the prefixes, and that's pretty much it. As for the group manager configuration, my hope is that in the future I can do some more videos, do more tutorial videos, maybe someday do a gameplay, but yeah, I'm just not that big on gameplay videos. Anyways, if you have any plugin suggestions that you'd like information or configuration consultation on, go ahead and post a comment below, and I'll do my best to make a new video for that plugin. I always love to help. Anyways, good job everybody. Thank you for watching.